Good morning. Everybody ready for story time? Are you ready for story time? Are you ready for story time? Are you? You're ready for story time? Oh, I'm so glad you're ready. I'm so glad you're ready. Did you only join me downstairs for story time because you get to be on the spare bed? You get to be on the spare bed in the spare room, but you don't get to be on my bed in my room? You don't want to talk about it? You just want to snuggle? Do you want to talk about books? Why don't you want to talk about books? Because you can't read? Why don't you place more importance on literacy? Why don't you... I'm not saying that everybody has to have the same gifts and interests. Everybody can have different gifts and different interests. You are much better at leaping through snow piles than I am. You are much better at that. That is true. That is true. But don't you feel like we should place more emphasis on literacy for the two kids that you're helping me raise? Don't you think it's important to lead by example? You do. Thank you. Thank you for conceding that point. I agree. Let's do story time. Bailey's ready. Aren't you ready? Oh, you are ready. Ready. Okay, I'll get the camera you're scared of out of your face. Okay. You don't have to leave. You don't have to leave. Okay, you're back. Oh, welcome back. Okay. Let's get set up. I'm wearing a really sophisticated outfit. Polar bear long johns. Some kind of 80s, 90s sweater. No bra, but definitely reading is sexy. I might have to edit that out. I regret that. Oh, still have music going, but to which I don't own the rights. I am sorry, Ghost of John Prine and the Be Good Tanyas and Bonnie Raitt, who that just was. Okay. Good morning. Let's have story time. Where did I put my book? Did you take the book? No. I'm sorry I accused you of something you clearly did not do. I'm not trying to embarrass you further about your fear of cameras and your inability to read. I'm sorry I brought it up. Story time with Ophelia Immune. All I want in life is story time, which I suppose we have in the form of podcasts, which I love, and I wish that instead of calling things scripted podcasts, we could just agree to call it old-timey radio show, or just like radio show, or pod show instead of podcast. I think scripted podcast is far less elegant than everything else. Clearly, I have not had enough coffee yet. I need story time. Ophelia Immune. Which I have written, so I am free to give away. Don't judge me for chugging coffee just so I can make my way through my own words better. Actually, go ahead and judge. I'm super into it. Chapter called The Killer. I split my awake time between mending and reading to myself, Juliet, and to Swan. I spent daylight evenings and mornings with Juliet, watering her, petting her, helping her stay tidy, and smoothing the edges of our home to keep her from scraping open any new wounds. Plus, I couldn't go anywhere else during daylight hours. Even without dreaming, every time I lay down in the closet to rest, all I could see playing on the back of my eyelids was the Rangers finding me, finding us. They'd have checked dozens of other squatter buildings already, poking through squatters' belongings, stealing things that no well-paid ranger would even need. It wouldn't be just rangers. It'd be the grimy brothel owner with her frayed lace scarf, the fat, greedy van owners that we had torched, and the boss twirling his sticky cane. They wouldn't even try to be quiet as they banged into the building, up our stairs, and began pounding on doors. They'd stomp around like they owned the place, like they own all places. Our locked and blocked doors wouldn't stop them for long. They'd just bust through with crowbars and machetes while they sent somebody up to our fire escape. The window would slide open and they'd cuss about trying to get through the nailed-down curtains, where I'd be waiting, with my hammer and axe, one in each hand. I'd maybe take one out before they sent two in. Then they'd have me pinned while they opened the closet door, found Juliet where I'd hidden her. Her head would crush so easily while they laughed, and then they would turn to me. They wouldn't chuckle and swear long before they bashed my head, too. The end of it all. I should run. I should take Juliet and flee. But where? Back to the woods where I could hardly keep us defrosted, and Juliet in one piece? Another squatter's building, no better than this one, just to get our heads bashed in how many days later? I should get our heads bashed in. I know better. I know our heads shouldn't be whole anymore. But the cure... If we could just avoid getting caught until the cure is ready, we could go home and be done with the cellars and get answers to why Dad had failed to shoot us or why Uncle Donnie said it was me using the gun. Had he said that he had thrown us into the stream? I shook my head. When the tornado cleared, I tied Juliet carefully with her ribbons and left her. Swan received the middle and late portion of my night, when we could rebandage her hands and sit with her in peace and quiet before dawn. Tell her about the cure that was coming. If I could get my hands on it. Would I have to rob the clinic again? Surely Jim and I would be friends again when the cure was done. When I sat perched 5 crates high, Swan couldn't reach me. I couldn't snuggle her without getting mauled, but I hoped that she still enjoyed the sound of my reading voice while she leapt and whirled after her tripod, or a pigeon foolish enough to land on one of her patrolled surfaces. She still liked tea that I brewed and put it in a pot at home, making sure that it tasted only slightly of oranges and cherries, nothing too sweet. Juliet and I loved the watery brew, too. The cool fruit essences felt better on our parched summer throats than coffee. Juliet only got a hold of a tea bag once, and I was able to pull it right back out of her mouth by the string and the little paper tag. Swan smelled even more like tea than she had when she'd been alive, because she stuck her whole head down into the pot. I wished that I could get close enough to snuggle her and sniff her fluffy mane, but by the time I had changed her bandages, she usually had a mouthful of my entrails and enough fingertips between her molars that it took me days to grow them back and place them back on. So I often stayed up on top of my crate tower, reading to her while she gallivanted back and forth, splashing in her drinks and racing against ferrets who darted from crow's nest to crow's nest. Whenever I read, the little engine that could, I made sweeping hand motions to get her attention, and then snapped to let her know when she should leap for her favorite parts. But I can't always read her favorite story. Sometimes I sit quietly, listening for the bootsteps and the guffaws of the rangers and minions who could hunt us down at any time, before we're humans again, bash us instead of selling us. But the only sound is Swan scratching at a beetle that she picks up and prods out of a cement crack. The beetle darts in front of her, flexes its wings, and spins into the night with her right behind it. They disappear behind a pile of rubbish. Swan! Swan! Please come back where I can see you. The beetle's gone. Come back and play with your spinner. Swan. We could spell train. Train. There's a loud thump from the corner. Swan, now that's enough. Come back here, please, where I can see you. Heavy boot falls that are not mine ring out across the concrete. It wasn't Swan or a rat or any stray animal that lives on the rooftops of Turrington. I jump off the crates and run to find her.
Swan! Swan, where are you? I bolt around the chimney where she likes to play with the rodents, and there's a tall form bent over her writhing frame. That's it then. We are found. I'm sorry to abandon Juliet, but the jig is up. Someone will finally take care of us. I lunge fist first at the tall figure. Its long arms raise a sickle, glinting in the low light. I leap to catch it, but I'm too slow. The blade slashes across Swan's throat. Her head lolls off to one side. I shove the sickled figure off of her, black puddles flooding between my fingers. I can't stop the gushing with my bare hands, but I'm glad to feel that Swan's teeth can still latch securely onto my arm. It's okay, I've got you, I say to her head. The black lashed boots of her killer kick her head away from me. I try to hold on to Swan, but she's too slippery. Her head rolls away and the attacker jumps on it, slamming a sledgehammer down on top of her skull so that she can no longer bite. I scream and dive, slicing the air near Killer's torso, willing my axe and hammer to connect with a chest, a stomach, or a shoulder. The killer's arms swing in one wide half circle, and I'm hit with something dull, blunt, and heavy. I fall backwards with a crack, my tools clattering away from me, my tailbone tingling loudly. Why? Why did you do that? Why did you kill her? I wail. I stretch for my hammer and launch it at the shadow towering above me. The killer doesn't duck, and my hammer connects solidly with her shoulder. The killer moans, a high-pitched sing-song moan. I freeze. I look up at the outline of the killer, at her long flowing hair and her pants tight on her round hips. She steps into the glare of the clinic's dim lights. She speaks. Sorry. I didn't know it was your pet. She wasn't a pet. She was my friend. Sorry, kid. The killer swings her mallet above my head and steps over to look at Swan's body. You're going to have to learn that once they're infected, they aren't who they used to be. Once they turn, they're not much of anybody. Except for me. I howl and leap at her again. She ducks when I go after her head, thumping me in my chest with the end of her sledgehammer as she dodges. I stumble but don't fall, clubbing her on the leg and taking aim at her brains again, while she's rubbing at the Charlie horse I've given her. She bounces nimbly aside, even with her new bruise, and rattles her throat at me, long and loud. Stop attacking me. She brushes the dust off her jacket. I don't like killing humans. I'm not human, I spit. Black blood splatters out of my mouth and fireworks through the air. She catches a bit of my spittle on her palm and examines it. She turns it slowly towards her face, sniffs it. She licks it slowly, savoring it and smirking at me. Well, well, well. I've been looking for you. I clutch my head between my raw knuckles and turn my eyes toward the limp remains of Swan's body. I need to wrap her up in a strong tarp. I need to find a nice burn pile to put her in and take care of her. I said I would keep her. I said I would take care of her. But someone else has taken care of her. I've gotten Swan killed. Again. My entire head tingles. Someone has finally found us. Well, I've been looking for anyone, really. The killer stood between Swan's body and I, picking her teeth with a long, glossy nail. Anyone who moans like me and swings a hammer half as well. I grind my teeth and brace for the tingle I'll get when I plunge my bare hands into her skin and pull out her still-beating heart. But then I see it. Her skin. I see her stomach poking out where I was going to plunge my fingers. Her skin is green, gray and green. She moans again and pushes me backwards when she sees my jaw drop in recognition. She's immune too. The killer is immune. Took you long enough to figure it out. I look back and forth between the immune killer and Swan. Poor, poor Swan, laying there in pieces on the roof. Rage takes me again. Why? Why did you kill her? She glanced over her shoulder at the corpse. She shrugs. Her dark brown waves cascade from her shoulders to the small of her back. You of all people should know. There was nothing that could have been done for it. They're brainless machines after they turn, and I've been killing so many that there are hardly any left. Everybody's getting wise to how to slaughter them. They'll be gone soon, and you should be glad that I dispatched it. But I'm sorry, I didn't know it was your pet. Not it. Not a pet. She, you idiot. There was something that could have been done for her, and they will all be gone soon, but not because everybody is finally learning how to fight them. A friend of mine, a doctor, he's working on a cure. No. She throws her head back and laughs at me. Yeah, right down there. He's right there, a doctor working on a cure. I whirl and point my finger over the edge of the building at Jim in his white jacket, tearing a receipt from some boxes of gauze, a bright silver thermos poking out of his pocket, his straw hair sticking up in beautiful bales. He scratches at a bug bite, yawns, sleepy from a long night of work. It's almost time for him to go home. The killer peers at him and snorts again. That's no doctor. Yes, it is, and he's working on a cure. No, that is no doctor. Look at him. Doctors don't work that late. They don't wear the polyester jackets of assistant lackeys. They don't get out to retrieve delivery boxes in the middle of the night. And they don't make friends with infected slime like you. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, really? Well, let's go see. She catches a death grip on my wrist so that I can't even feel my hands tingling, and she jumps over the edge. I can hear her shoulders popping as she swings down the fire escape with me in tow, a useless rag doll in her grip. We land boots first on the alleyway, gray tears sliding down my cheeks. Poor Swan. Poor Jim. She's going to hurt him now, too. No cure for any of us then. Hi! She stalks to him across the pavement, her pale neon skin glowing in the exit light. He's on his feet quickly, dropping a rumpled yellow invoice. I wince for him. What's your name? She pokes him in the breastbone with a green manicured finger. Holy. He looks at me questioningly. There are two of you. I knew that there must be more. Is this your friend, Ophelia? I knew you were alive. I'm so glad you came back. I hope not to rob us again this time. He tries to laugh. I try to go to his side, but she cuts between us and snarls through her teeth. I said, what's your name? Whoa, hey, are you for real mugging me again, Ophelia? I'll just give you supplies. Again, there's no need for this. Name, she commands. Jim, I'm Jim. It's nice to meet you. He offers his right hand to be shaken. Jim? Are you a doctor? She slaps his lapel. He frowns and steps away from her. Are you a doctor, Jim? She repeats. No, he stutters. I gasp. The killer continues. No, what a surprise. I bet you're a lab assistant and a delivery boy. And are your doctor pals working on a cure, Gopher? Yes, they are. Oh, a cure. Excellent. I told you, you idiot. I told you. I threaten her, climbing on top of the dumpster, my face flushed a deep gray, my cheeks heavy with terror and fury. He is working on a cure. Leave him alone before I smash you from crown to chin. Settle down, Ophelia. That's what he called you. Didn't he call you that? Ophelia, I want to hear about this cure that Jim is working on. Jim, tell me, what would happen if you gave a zombie this cure? It would kill it. It would die 1,000 final deaths. My eyes tingle, and I fall with a thud as my feet slide off the metal trash heap in a puddle of someone else's fluids. I wobble towards Jim on unsteady legs. What? What, Jim? Doesn't it cure zombies? He looks at me, beyond bewildered, and speaks, reaching for me. Of course it does. Of course it does. It works really, really well. I thought you wanted me, or us, the doctors, to end the zombie plague. I do. I did. But not by... I moan and rattle with a long, low gurgle. And Jim, the radiant killer presses him. What would happen to Ophelia if she took this cure? He meets my eyes, his hand still trying to touch me. Ophelia, I thought you understood. I would have protected you. I will protect you. It doesn't even matter that you robbed us. You'll be safe and you won't have to kill zombies anymore. But it won't save. It won't fix. I can't ever. My knees and ankles are numb, but I can see that my feet are turning around and walking away. I'm walking away. I watch my feet walking slowly through the waves and waves of silence. The tall, sleek immune killer follows me through the heavy tide, as does the sound of Jim standing completely still and not dragging any of the delivery boxes anywhere. My brain spins while my head sits upon my shoulders. My ears buzz. My legs continue towards home. I need to see Juliet. The killer skips in front of me, prancing backwards, her lips moving. She's talking again. She tackles the ghoul who's stumbling towards us, and I leave her behind while she chops at it. She catches me easily afterwards, walking backwards in front of me again with her lips still moving, her fingers still pointing, her arms swinging. I shove her out of the way. There is no cure. What am I living for? What am I going to do with Juliet? Poor Juliet. Jim had lied to me. Swan is dead. Again. My head spins. Nothing. Nothing I can do. Everything is a waste. Jim is a waste. I am a waste. Juliet was a waste. Swan was a waste. The bats reeling after insects make me dizzy. A flickering street lamp turns the world in slow motion. A squatter turns to his cohorts when they see us coming. They all hide their food scraps behind their backs, watching us pass. But I do not hide my face, and they don't say a thing. They don't recognize me. They don't follow us. They don't care to take care of us one way or another. I trudge up my stairs and hang my axe and my hammer on the wrong hooks. I light half an old candle and let the wax drip down my knuckles. In the glow, Juliet crawls from underneath the table, a large dust bunny wedged between her front teeth. The killer is on top of her in an instant, her lengthy, lethal arms wrapped around Juliet's neck. The killer has followed me. I haven't stopped her. Maybe I want her to follow me. Maybe I want her to kill Juliet too. Juliet will never be alive again. Not from a cure. Jim's cure would kill her. Again. And I helped him more than I stole from him. I didn't ask any questions. I hadn't thought. I'm not thinking. Juliet is already dead. Why not let the killer rip her head off and spread her blood across the floor? The killer raises her sickle above her head, gripping Juliet's scalp roughly. But before it can fall, before the last barrette from Imogen can clatter onto the floor, before my last sister's head can roll, I am between them. I keep Juliet from hitting her face on the table with one hand, and with the other I break the killer's nose, once, twice, 3 times. I smear it sideways across her face, contorted and bloody. She retreats to a corner where she can crouch and coddle her nose like it's canning wax. I peer down at Juliet, cup her face in my hands, and smile through bleary eyes. Hello, little one. I'm here. I came back. It's me. She swipes her tongue around her face in a sloppy circle. She brings my hand to her mouth and begins to chew. My bones crackle and crumble as she works her teeth into them, and I hike up her drooping pants. I pat her belly, a little hollow. She could use some fresh water. I stand up and straighten out my hand, glaring at the immune killer in the corner. When I growl, she closes her powdered lids with a grimace and her hand still on her face, whimpering when her nose droops against her top lip. I keep my ears trained on the killer while I fill the water bowl. If there was even the slightest moan, threatening step, wobble or creak, I'm ready to kill her and never find out who she was, this other immune zombie. But I fill the bowl to the rim with nothing but the sound of splashing water. Who are you? I rasp, giving my sister her drink. Boy, you sure have a lot of pets. She dabs her bloody lips on her sleeve. Who are you? I demand. Like I told you when we were walking back here, I'm Kite. You're Ophelia, and that's another one of your pets, of which you apparently have a lot. But you're maybe not the wimp I thought you were. She glares over her fingertips, busily adjusting her nose so that it can heal. Don't talk about my family like they're pets. You're immune like me. How long? How long have you been immune? You have strange friends, Ophelia. I've been immune for a while now. She tosses a thick strand of hair from her shoulders. Can we catch up in the morning? I'm beat. Do you know any other doctors who are working on a real cure? I press. You don't give up, do you? There is no real cure. It's never going to happen. I slam her head against the faded wallpaper with my mottled forearm, adding broken vertebrae to her smashed nose. I don't care if she can heal like me or not. Her head droops askew above her shoulders. You don't know that there's no real cure, I hiss and let her fall to her knees. You don't know anything. She holds her nose with one hand, her head upright with the other. Even broken, she's very pretty. I know that I'm immune like you, she burbles from the floor, and I have been since I got bitten by a fish in a lab just like the one your stupid lying lab rat works at. I knew he wasn't a doctor. I know that I'm green. I know that I rattle and moan just like you, and except for me, you're all alone in this world. All alone. No, I pet Juliet's pigtails. I'm not. Fine, great. Is this where we sleep? Kite opens the door to my closet and in one swift motion kicks her boots off, tosses her lolling head inside, and her body follows its momentum. She wiggles and rolls for a few minutes, rearranging her neck, and then she lies still with her arms folded over her chest, waiting to mend. I stare at her. My temples ring. My ears are still buzzing. I stare and I stare and I stare. She crosses her well-muscled legs at the knee and snuggles more deeply into my blankets. After a while, she begins to snore. Juliet snoops and finds the closet wide open. She gropes at Kite's boots. Next, she finds Kite's feet with her teeth. No, I chide, forcing my legs to support my weight, stumbling to her, pulling her away gently. Only grown-ups get to go in the closet, buddy. I urge her out into the living room with her sock doll. She bats at it non-committally. I whisper her sweet nothings, and then I leave her alone again, shutting myself into the closet with Kite. I shove the unconscious, confusing figure to the far side of my closet, wrenching anything that has been swans out from beneath her. Those are mine. She doesn't get to touch those. But I can touch her. I can't make her sick, and she seems confident that she would heal after my beating. She doesn't wake up as I rearrange my nest. Her thick eyelashes don't flutter. She's not dreaming. She's infected. She's immune, just like me. Her nose and neck will repair where I've broken them. They're already less loose when I poke and stare at them, reattaching. I sit silently for a while, listening to the rustle of Juliet playing, her baby doll bouncing off the walls and the table legs in the refrigerator. I hear her spill her pot of fresh water and the splash in the resulting mess. The immune stranger's snores bounce off of the thin closet walls. I grope in the dark for Swan's last unwashed t-shirt, bring it to my nose, wrap it tightly around my fists, brace myself with covered eyes, and fall asleep. That is the chapter called The Killer in Ophelia Immune. Learned a lot of information in that one.